So Lana's going to walk us through gutting the bear. He's got a... Oh.
Okay, so Tom just shot this beautiful bear here, and now the work starts. So what we got to do first, we got to field dress it. So we got to get all the guts out of the stomach. So there's a few different ways to do it, but I've been doing it for a while, and this is my favorite way to do it. So what I like to do is take my knife, and I'll start off at the vent down here. You kind of prop them up a little bit. Put the knife in. These knives are razor sharp, so it makes work nice and easy. So you cut around the vent first. Just get that all loosened up. And then I'll just start making a little cut here. Then I'll start it off like that, just so I could get the zipper blade in there. So I'll come up with the zipper, stick it under.
Okay.
So going up with the zipper. It's nice and sharp. Go all the way up to just about the neck. There we go, that should be perfect. Put that down. Then what I do is I take the knife and I'll cut down onto the rib cage. All the way down to where you can feel the rib cage. So then you'll get to a part where the rib cage stops and then it starts to the stomach. So you want to be kind of careful here. So you don't want to overcommit to your cuts. So there's going to be a couple different membranes after the fat that'll eventually lead to the stomach. But just to make work a little bit easier for later, I like to hollow out this part here a little bit first. As you can see, these bears are just crazy healthy, like all kinds of fat in them. All this fat is blueberry fat. So you'll start making your way down. And you'll start getting towards the stomach here. This is just about the bottom layer.
Okay.
Okay, and then once I get in, make a couple pokes.
And you're just finding a spot above the guts there now with your fingers?
Just above the guts. So they're pretty fatty just around the guts there. So you want to be careful because you don't want to puncture any of the guts here. Go right down to the pelvic bone there. So there you can start seeing all the intestines. So now what you want to do is you want to cut open the rib cage here now. So I'll switch it up to a saw. Right here, this is perfect. You got the perfect handle right there. Should make quick work. So take your hand and kind of protect the guts because you don't want to overcommit to your cut. Then you'll be cutting right into the stomach. And once you get down past the stomach, then you're just into the lungs so you can cut a bit more aggressively.
And you're going right along the side of the sternum there, cutting
right
through every rib?
The side of the sternum. It's kind of easier. They just have small ribs, so they're easy to cut. So I'll come back to the knife. And then now the only thing kind of holding everything together is the trachea inside and then the diaphragm. So I'll start by separating the diaphragm. So you can kind of get a good visual of everything inside of the bear. So what I like to do now is I reach inside. Then you'll kind of grab hold of the trachea. You can kind of see it here. In there. Right there. So you want to cut that off. And then you'll start pulling it out a little bit. Now what I like to do is I'll get somebody else to come here and just hold open the rib cage so you can kind of see what you're working with more. Then you just want to keep separating that diaphragm.
And then you're just cutting right along that.
Yep, right along there's a little seam that just kind of holds everything together. On either side. It's just a little muscle membrane. Just want to grab it all and pull.
You got a tiny bit of the diaphragm wall on that side there still hanging on.
Put it on the knife, so I'll put it on this side. So you just kind of keep pulling and cutting. You can feel when you get a bit of resistance, so that's where you need to make some cuts. You just want to make sure you rake everything out to the side of the animal so nothing's left inside. So once you kind of get here, all the guts are out, but now the bladder and some of its larger intestines are still in the bottom there, so I like to open this up a bit. So I'll cut down to the pelvis, right down to the bone there. And I'll cut along either side of it. There's kind of like just a little kind of elevated portion there. So I'll cut down on either side of it and take that bone out, just so we have some room to rake everything out.
And you're just cutting right along the side of that.
Yep, just cutting right along the side. So there's one side done. And by doing this and separating the two legs, it helps, especially on hotter days, to help that animal cool down after it's been shot.
We're lucky today, but it can be awful hot in August.
Yeah. Once that's cut, we'll take that bone right out of there. Now you have some room to work with. Perfect. Smaller blades easier. Get down in there, hollow it out.
And you're kind of just cutting along both sides of the bladder and that
Exactly.
kind of anal canal there,
Yep.
whatever we call it.
And there's lots of pulling and cutting involved.
Looks like it's blueberry jelly on your hands there.
That's what it would appear to be.
So you got the bladder and the
Yeah, everything's been taken out.
undesirable parts all pulled out of there.
Yep. And there we go. There's just a couple pieces of fat in there that you can trim out before you pull it out. And other than that, all your guts have been removed. And then you can just tip it over and take just to get the blood out of it.
Probably nice if you had help.
Yeah, there we go. So I'll just leave it like this for a couple minutes and then your animal's been successfully field dressed.